All right. So I'll record the meeting so we can pass it out. Tonight's meeting is really kind of important for moving closer to the playoffs and making sure that we're all in line and on the same page with three-man mechanics. So before we start, does anybody have anything they wanted to share from a game? Not necessarily problems, but something positive, something good that came out of one of your games, something you learned, or give somebody in our group a shout out for their hard work.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Frank, I hear you.
Mark, I'm going to butcher his name. Beau Parlant gets an A+ for doing his first, what he called high-level game. He's Kyle's mentee. I haven't talked to him yet, but I just wanted to tell him he's a wanna player. He wants to get better, and that is key. But he did a great job. Archmere against Ruston from Pennsylvania.
It's a nice game. So good job, Mark. I'll second that. I worked with Mark early at Apo and also last year. And crossing over from another sport and coming and want to learn and be good is very important. And just we need everybody to have that same teachable attitude, no matter, if you've done it for a few years, like some of us, if you've done it since the movie Last of the Mohicans, like Mike Barlotta, or if this is your first year, your first game, we always should be working better to get from game to game. And I always equate that, to my belief that we're all athletes, and when we were really athletes and playing for our schools and playing for our teams, the goal was to work hard and get better every game, every play, every season. And that's what we should be doing. Anybody else? All right, let's move on. So our theme is being the communicator this year. Hopefully we're having a lot of opportunities to communicate with our coaches and our players. And as far as I can tell, we've done a great role communicating the two major rule changes we dealt with this year, which was the sub box and what's going on with the eye black. So good job by everybody. When I roll up to a game, everybody seems to know what's going on with the substitution box. They've already got their player areas set out. They've got their cones set out. And as far as I can tell, we've had no real issues with that this year. So that's a good thing. And then the eye black, as far as I know, I don't think we've had to throw a flag for it. But if we do, we would. I will be sharing tomorrow, the next day, the NFHS. There's a rules survey out right now, but it doesn't really give you a chance for particular feedback on different rules. At some point, JP will get something through the rules committee because he's on it, where we can propose rules. And, I think we should individually and as a group, continue to advocate to take especially the eye shade rule out if we can get that out of there and let us actually make decisions and officiate games. All right. Let's start with our general business. Dino, anything with the treasurers?
Well, we got $8,388 in the account. I sent out 15 scrimmage invoices, totaling about 3,400, and 6 of them have been paid. So I need to get about $2,000 to pay everybody for their scrimmages. I did bill travel, but none of the schools that were billed have paid yet that had travel in them. The other ones I got for no travel. I did get a check from George for the March Madness fundraiser, which netted $125. All the people that worked the Chase Winter Ball were paid on March 29th. So Everybody should have gotten that. That was worked. And we've been 2 weeks now in the World Series, waiting on the money. And that was for $15,000. So we need to reach out to that Henry or somebody if you know him. I can send him a note as well. But
I think we had contact with him in the middle of the week, and he said the check will be out. He said Tuesday. I wasn't clear if he meant last Tuesday or this Tuesday coming up.
okay.
But I know we're right over the 15 days. So I don't think we're going to have a problem there.
All right. And like I mentioned, I have all the checks to send to Eric Torbert for the table people. So that's all ready to go.
Perfect. All right. I don't see Mike Wilbur on here. I will say, obviously by Frank's comments about Mark, that, our mentorship program is working well. If you are if you have a mentor, you make sure you're reaching out to that official. If you're not sure or having issues, let Mike Wilbur know or let myself know, and we'll make sure we get you connected. If we can figure out a way to get you in a couple more games together, we'll certainly try to do that through JP. JP, the assigners report.
This late in the season, I shouldn't be getting declined games, guys. You should have your blocks in already. I understand work changes, but if you get your schedule on Monday, please put your blocks in for that week. The schedule obviously is very fluid and changes.
Days at Boss Gobs, our biggest home sale of the season. Incredible savings at all Boss Gobs.
And changes.
Oh, sorry, bud. I muted everybody, including you.
Obviously, the schedule changes. I know work, things change at work, but if you know you're going to be out of town on Thursday and you just found out on Monday, please put your blocks in. I usually reconcile the schedule for the week Monday morning, no later than 9 o'clock. So that's why a lot of you get game changes or updates for field locations or times around 9 o'clock on Monday. So if you know you've got to be out of town on Thursday, that's fine, but you got to put the block in. I know work comes first, family comes first, but when you have an open day and I try and give you a game over and over and over again, and it keeps getting sent back to me, I don't hold grudges, but it does piss me off a bit. And please refrain from telling coaches to call JP or send a clip to JP. If you think you made the right call, stand by it. Explain your call to the coach and move on with the game. Don't tell him call JP or send the tape. It's just going to cause more animosity. It's going to piss him off more. You're going to fret over it. Just explain the call that you had and move on. Other than that, I know I can be an asshole sometimes sending out emails, but I appreciate everybody's flexibility. Every time I ask someone to change, or I know I had a couple games that were supposed to be up north and ended up down south, and the crews were very willing to travel for me. So I appreciate that. A couple more weeks. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Yes, don't just to piggyback on what JP said, don't encourage them to send in clips. If they have a problem and you can't solve it with a discussion, please, you can always encourage them to fill out the survey and share any, just to fill out the survey. And if there's a big enough problem, they'll reach out to us. But sometimes, turning around and telling them to send in a clip, it can be taken in the wrong way. So we want to be careful. Michael Hernandez.
All right. The youth season started beginning of April. This upcoming week, there's 2 sites, Middletown and Camden. If you're available this Saturday, you're not working for JP and you're not working college, if you want to work, I definitely can use you. I will say May 13th, Middletown, Smyrna, and Camden are all playing at home. So if you're wanting to work, you will definitely work that day if you're available. So if you can open up that day for me, I would appreciate it, but remember JP comes first.
And then Brett is in here, our incident chair. I'm not sure if he really has anything for us because we're still kind of figuring things out with that because of the state of the DIAA office right now. We have been forwarding the very few ejections that we've gotten to the ADs and through the office. But Brett, do you have anything?
I have no news. Just try to be as specific as possible every time you fill out that form.
Yep. And make sure that you do fill it out. Everybody should have the link. If you don't have the link, ask for it and then bookmark it so you don't have to keep asking for it. All right. Here's the rest of our meeting schedule. The 7th of May will be another online meeting. It will be, that's our election meeting and also our last meeting before playoffs. And then make sure you have June the 7th on your schedule for our DLOA year-end banquet. A couple guys did respond back that they wouldn't be attending because they don't play golf. It's at a country club. Golf is not required. We will put together a fun golf outing for those who want to play. But the big thing is the banquet at the end of the year. So make sure you have that one on your schedule. That's a fun one. It's a great time for all of us to get together. And then the 13th of June at the DE Turf is the Senior All-Star Game, which is also another fun time for our officials. See what's in the chat. Chris, when we get that, we'll put out the sign up for the golf portion. I don't think we've even put that together yet. Have we, Mike Barlotta? I think Mike is saying no, we haven't put it together yet. So once that comes out, we'll send it all out.
Yeah, probably in about beginning of June, end of May, we'll send something out.
Very good. Okay, a couple new business items. I did send out what we're doing with at least trying to do with game fees for next year in the future. I hope you've all had a chance to look at it. It's my opinion, and the board has agreed, our board, that what is out there now is a good proposal for us. It's a good fee structure. It basically, it's 20% more in fees than we were getting last year. So in 2 years, our fees would have increased 20%. I think for us in lacrosse, that's where our fees needed to be competitive. When you compare fees all through the area. The other thing it does do, some people won't like it, but most of you should, is it redoes the travel to a true mileage system so that any official who travels has the opportunity to get travel as long as you go to more than 15 miles one way. And then that graduates up the further you travel. So that's a good thing. And that'll really help JP with the signing. Because there were the old system of crossing state lines or county lines was inequitable in a lot of cases. So what happens with that now is on Thursday, the group of ADs and the DIOC, of which I am the chairman, will be taking that proposal to the DIAA executive board. And we are hoping that they will approve it. We think we have the backing of most of the ADs and most of the public schools and probably all of the private schools. So it's just a matter of how it goes in that board meeting. We had our proposal before we talked to the athletic directors, before they would talk to us a month ago, and it got turned down. Basically we told them that, unless it was addressed by the ADs and the fees came way up, and we had some system in there to make sure that the fees were maintained, continue to go up, that they probably wouldn't get officials. So, I think they heard us, and I think it's a good thing. I'll let you know after Thursday if it's approved, and assuming it's approved, those will be our game fees starting next year. Any questions about that? All right, the fun one. Equipment rules and penalties. So, if you didn't watch, I'm sure you heard about the Maryland Ohio State game, where towards the end of the game, it became evident that Ohio State was in violation of a rule in NCAA lacrosse that requires all gloves to be the same color, same dominant color, whatever. It created quite a storm and a lot of concern. And I just want to reiterate to all of you, our high school rule book does not have anything like that, except when it comes to helmets and, the uniform shirts themselves. But the way we generally adjudicate that is based on something we see or is brought to our attention before the first face-off. So if somebody comes to you and says, well, their uniforms don't conform, or, they've got some guys with white compression pants and some people with blue compression pants and some people with rainbow compression pants, and that's against the rules, you have two options. You tell the other team to go fix it before the game starts, or probably easier, you look at the guy bitching at you, you look at his team, you find one violation, the whole thing's over. Once the game starts, there's no there's no penalty or anything for any of those kind of uniform or color equipment issues. It's high school lacrosse. More than half of what we cover are coming from public schools or private schools or charter schools that are living on a very shoestring budget. Often the kids have to get their own equipment, so there's no way to enforce anything that requires it to match. The only rules, once a game starts, it would have to do with any equipment, would have to do with players not wearing, actually wearing equipment that's been altered to violate the rules. And the biggest ones that you may see in that would be like cutting out the palms on the gloves, doing something to the shoulder pads to actually tear them apart and do something, or the elbow pads. Other than that, there's really nothing that we have to worry about. I did have one question from a coach about, the really stud defenders with the really big balls who wear their little dinky elbow pads up here. There's nothing in the rule book that says that that's a penalty. Okay. It's not altering the equipment. There's nothing in there that says it has to be worn a certain way. When you walked up to the coach and you asked him if he's certified that all of his players were properly equipped, that's taken care of. If I see a kid like that, I tell him he's an idiot and put his elbow pads down on his elbows where they belong, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time with it, and we shouldn't be giving penalties for that. That's on the coach. So are there any questions about that, or JP, anybody, is there anything that you want to add?
Same thing with the field markings. If I don't know what could possibly happen, but if the visiting coach decides to bring up that there is a line missing that you didn't notice after the game has started, the game has already started, coach. We're not getting into the weeds there. It has happened in the past too, where a coach has asked to measure the goal because it wasn't 6 feet at the bottom. It's Delaware. We play with what we have, coach. We'll do everything we can to get it back to 6 feet, but if we can't, coach, this is what we got. This is how we're going to play. The thing with equipment checks, if they ask for an equipment check, you just check everything, but still the game is commenced. We're not going to talk about undershirts and things like that if you're doing an equipment check. Once the game starts, don't get into that with them. That's all.
And the out always is, if they want to jump on you about whether it's a line or whether it's equipment, is, it's just, I will tell them, I will put that in my game report, and I suggest you put it in your report back to your AD and let your conference, your school, and the DIA handle it. We're not stopping games, we're not penalizing teams or anything like that. Usually when you have like JP's example, a goal that, might have been around since Mike Barlotta played, and it's a little cattywampus. They're defending that goal twice and they're shooting towards it twice. So it's pretty much equal. So we shouldn't see any problems with equipment rules or penalties. If you have questions, you can always ask JP or myself or any of the senior officials, but don't get involved with any of that stuff. All right, JV overtime. We've had a couple of instances where we've had JV or middle school games end in a tie. Our policy has always been that those classifications don't get overtime. JP will probably disagree with me a little bit. If the game's exciting and they ask for overtime and you want to stick around because you're having fun and do overtime according to this rule book, whatever, go ahead. Okay. But you're fine with just saying, no, we don't do overtime. The big problem we already had once this year is a couple of our officials got suckered into a Braveheart. Okay. Bravehearts are fun. Everybody likes them. You see two big dumb kids try and run, outplay each other for however long it takes and run into each other and all that. The problem is the word Braveheart or any rules concerning a Braveheart or alternate ending to a game are not in this book. They're also not in our DIAA policy manual or anything like that. So you are putting everybody at risk, serious liability risk. If you say, okay, we're going to end this game in a Braveheart, that's fine. I don't even say, well, I'll walk away and you do it. You just say, no, you can't do it. If you leave the field and they decide they want to do it, you've told them. But for our high school games for DIA, a Braveheart is not allowed, period. Shouldn't hear about it again. If you do a tournament, our summer tournaments often end ties in a Braveheart. And if that's in the tournament rules, that's a different thing, because now, the tournament director and the tournament has taken on that liability by putting it in the rules that you're expected to enforce. But it's not in our rule book right now. So any questions?
Greg, hold on for a second. I'm going to send you don't go any further because I want to check with you before I say something. Check the chat just to you.
Like two married people. Is that positive or negative for that?
Positive. I'll explain.
Go ahead.
All right. So the JV, the reason and you can explain this to the coach, and most coaches will agree, JV is a feeder program. We want the kids on the field. We want the kids to learn the game. There is no standings for JV. There's no championship. There's no playoffs. It is a chance for them to learn. End of it. As far as middle school A games, I am okay with overtime because even though there's no standings, there's no playoffs, those kids, they're playing technically their first varsity sport or their first varsity lacrosse. So I'm okay with middle school A playing a regular overtime game. 4 minutes, NFHS rules, no Bravehearts or anything like that. That's the only reason I'm saying that is because in middle school, that is their varsity. So middle school B, absolutely not. No, that fifth quarter, and most of them are only doing fifth quarters. But if there is a whole middle school B game, absolutely not. No overtime.
Okay, very good. And the last thing is elections. Frank Fry is our election coordinator. And over the next few weeks, he will send some emails out, probably through me in the Arbiter, asking for nominations. All of our board positions, president, vice president, treasurer, and the two at-large members are up for election this year. So he'll get that out in the next, Frank, week or so. Is that good?
Yeah, probably 2 weeks.
Okay, so he'll get that out in 2 weeks. And then we'll put together the ballot. Our election will be at the next meeting. And right before that meeting, we'll also send out the ballot for people who can't attend that meeting. And with
Just
that,
a quick comment.
Yep.
Self nominations are welcome, but if you're going to nominate another individual, please check with them to find out if they're willing to run before you send something. Thanks.
well, I wish they had that rule when I became the president. Dang. Kidding. And then the other thing with that is I'd hope to have a draft of the changes we wanted to make in the Constitution by tonight. I was not able to get that done because, quite frankly, the stuff with the fees and the DIOC has taken up my life, and probably has come close to me having to find an attorney for something else. So hopefully that's over and done with. I'm hoping this week. That's a joke too. Don't take me seriously. But it was a lot of time and effort by a bunch of people, not just myself. And I'm hoping to have something out. I will send that out. If there's questions about it, we'll hold like a, question and answer meeting before the May meeting when we actually will vote on the new Constitution. Make sense? All right. Let me stop my share for a minute here. Switch to a PowerPoint. There we go. There it is. Share screen. All right. So what I wanted to do today is spend a little bit of time going through three-person mechanics. So I'm hoping, is my actual PowerPoint on the screen, or is the
You're in presenter mode. We see presenter mode, Greg.
you see the presenter mode?
Yep. Just hit that swap display.
There we go. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. So we haven't focused as much this year or last year on the three-person mechanics because, quite frankly, we haven't been able to do as many three-person games. Hoping as the season moves on, more of the guys who came in last year and this year can start working some three-person games. It's a much better system of mechanics. It's a much better way of covering games. And it certainly makes it easier to get the really big stuff and to discern between what's really big and what's not really big, because if we do this properly, we should all be in position correctly to make all the calls. So the mission of it is to make sure we're in position, player safety, fairness, and then make sure that we're able to be consistent as a crew, as an organization, from game to game, and so on and so forth. So I did send out a couple resources from our brothers at the Georgia Lacrosse Officials Association. There was a nice webpage that was created by Greg Height, and then a PowerPoint that I think was still Gordon, that goes through it at their meeting. Certainly encourage everybody to go through that, spend some time looking at it. Even if you think you're good at three-person mechanics, it's always good to review and get better. There's a lot to it. So, if you take it in little chunks, that's fine. The other way to really learn three-person mechanics, and I say it all the time, is, you know, watch games, you know, whether they're on TV, there's lots of games on TV. And honestly, the best games to watch, if you have like the ESPN Plus or the ESPN3, and you're getting the D1 games that aren't broadcast by ESPN, but they're broadcast by some group at the college or whatever, those tend to be very good to watch because they don't have 15 different cameras moving around. You're kind of watching the same thing and you can focus on what the officials are doing. And when I was starting out learning three-person mechanics, and I still do it to this day as I work to improve myself, I pick out one position each quarter. So the first quarter, I'll watch the single side. The second quarter, I'll watch the person, you know, who's the lead right person, you know, or the lead. And then I'll watch the trail. And then I try maybe the fourth quarter and watch them all work together and watch what they do. And then when I get on the field, I try to kind of emulate what they're doing. So don't hesitate to ask questions as we go through this. This is the 25,000 foot view. Just like anything else, you really need to work it a lot and, you know, do some things good, make some mistakes, ask a lot of questions to really, really get good at doing it this way. All right. So our primary responsibilities, the article I sent, the very beginning of it, basically says three-person mechanics, three-man mechanics is just two-man mechanics with a helper. And to a lot of degrees, that's true. Okay. The jobs get split up a little differently because now it's three people doing it instead of two. But in a lot of ways, the lead and the trail are still doing the same things. They're just doing it a little bit differently. So our primary responsibilities in three-person mechanics, the lead's just like in two-person, the lead's primary job is the goal area, the crease, everything around that. The one thing we don't want to miss are goals, and we certainly don't want to miss no goals and call them goals. Okay. And then the lead also has the end line, and I'll go into the lines a little bit more specifically in a bit. What the three-man mechanics adds is this position we call the single, or if you work with guys from Philly, the C. The single is not another trail. It's a position all of itself. Okay. And we split a lot of the responsibilities that the trail and the lead have. And there's a lot of crossover responsibilities to help us get better coverage. So the single, okay, has the shooter or the passer. I like to say the passer too, because often what happens is you have, a guy feeds a guy. All right. You have to watch him for a second, and then you have to watch the shooter. So now with two people, you have somebody watching the shooter or the feeder. The single is responsible for the sideline that is behind them. In NFHS, we give all the counts except the goalie 4 seconds to the single. Okay. So as soon as there's a change of possession, the single would hit the reaper for the 20 seconds. And then because of where they're positioned, as soon as they cross the line and there's possession, they take that 10-second count all the way down into the box. It just makes it much easier. It's much clearer. It doesn't mean other officials don't back that count up, but theirs is the primary. And then the single also has the first offsides count because of where they go on the initial transition. They're in a very, very good position to see early offsides. All right. And then the trail, and as you'll notice where we're at, so you have the lead is there, the single is there. Okay. And the single is on the side of the field that the trail used to be on. Now the trail and the lead are both on the bench side, and the single's on the far side. Okay. The trail, again, they have the shooter or the feeder. All right. It's good, especially in today's game with the emphasis on high hits and big hits and unnecessary play, to have both eyes sharing that responsibility. They have the entire sideline. Okay, on the bench side. They of course have the opposite goal. So when they go from trail to lead, they're responsible for that goal and that end line. And they also have over and back responsibilities to call over and back and make sure they get in position on the line and they're ready to call anything that happens with the over and back. And then they have the second offsides count. So the single kind of can catch it during transition. The trail is in better position to catch things and mistakes that happen, after transition goes by them. All right. Talking about the lines. All right. So you can see we have our three officials set up, the lead, the single, and the trail. They're each responsible for a different set of lines. So the lead is responsible only for the end line. All right. And this can be, going from 2 to 3, one of the hardest things to remember. Okay. The lead does not have anything along the sideline. The trail has the best position to catch anything coming down, a shot, particularly a shot going towards the sideline and where the players are in perspective to when that shot went out. Okay. So the lead is really only responsible for the end line. Okay. The trail is responsible for the sideline. Okay. And they also, of course, have this back end line as well, in case you get something crazy and a ball goes back there. Okay. JP and I like to, one of our fun things to share is when we get one of those real good sideline calls, it's a great opportunity to show your athleticism and kind of your spot in the game by running towards a sideline as the ball is going towards it and being in great position to make a call. So, and the single side has this whole back line, or not back line, but sideline on the far side, opposite the benches. So they have all the out of bounds and anything that happens on those lines. Okay. The single does not have the end line. And this is a hard part for a lot of us to get used to when you do a lot of 2-person. Okay. Because often you find yourself thinking that you're calling that end line. I will tell you now, if I observe you calling that end line, the first thing I'm going to tell you is you're not looking at the right stuff. Okay. Because the single on a shot behind the goal has much more responsibility to the front of the goal and the crease and the actual goal itself than it does to the end line. And basically, if you're trying to do the end line, that means you and the lead are both doing the same job. And the trail is now left with probably the other 18 players on the field, which is hard. Okay. Any questions about that? I also want to back up. Let me just back up to this slide real quick. On restarts, and I don't think I have a restart slide in here, but I just want to make it clear. Any restart, okay, that's in front of the trail, in the middle of the field and on the right side of the field, up to right in front of the lead, should always be the trail, except any restart on the far side that basically happens about 10 yards from the cone and up. That should be the single restarting that. Okay. Anything way back here, the trail should be restarting it. Anything in here and down here on the bench, on the far side, the single should restart. And the reason for that is, once you see our positions, we want the single to be here. It's hard to make that restart whistle from all the way up here, but it's hard for the trail to make a restart right here. It's much easier for the single because they're right there. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Let's talk about on-off responsibilities for a minute. So you see here, this is kind of our typical settled offensive position. The ball is over here, so the lead is pretty close to the goal. The trail's on the inside of the wing lines, 5 to 10 yards back. The ball's up here, and the single is with the ball. Okay. When the ball goes down, okay, in that direction, watch what all the different officials do. So the single is going to pinch in and actually come down closer to the goal. The lead is going to come down behind, okay, to be closer to actually see the ball. And the trail is going to step a little bit towards their sideline, just in case the ball goes that way and goes out of bounds. They're in position. So the ball comes down. And now we're all in position. All right. Then the single, he's kind of got this area on the side of the crease and everything in there. The lead is actually going to open up and take a lot of responsibility up in front of the goal. And the trail has the big picture from behind. Make sense to everybody? If you have questions, please just, please go ahead and ask. All right. So now the ball comes over closer to where the lead is. The single is going to pinch way in close to the goal. And notice the single is pretty much right at the top of the crease. And that's kind of a good home position. Okay. We don't want to be all the way up here. Okay. We're not a second trail. We don't want to be way down here. We want to be right about with the top of the crease. So when the ball comes over, the lead is going to move out closer to the sideline. And so is the trail. All right. To get out of the way and be closer to the sideline. So now when we're in this position, the lead is behind the goal and he's pretty far back. So the single does have some goal responsibility. Okay. And you can see the single has goal. The lead has, the ball and this big wide area here. And again, the trail has the big picture. Okay. Ball comes into the middle. The single is going to back out a little bit to open up his view. The lead's going to come up to its more normal position on the goal. The trail is going to move over a little bit more in the center of the field because we're going to have a lot more stuff going on here and they want to open their eyes up to that. So the ball comes over. Okay, the lead is now in kind of the position we really want them to be in. And the single is in pretty good position here. Okay, this is about as far outside the box we want to, or far to the edge of the box as we want to be when the ball is on this side. Okay, because we want to be able to come in case he comes around and catch anything on the crease or anything like that. So now the single is kind of looking into the middle. The lead has the ball and the player and the crease. Okay, this is just kind of overlap. And again, the trail is looking at everything from up top. All right. Any questions about that? All right. And then if the ball comes back towards the trail, again, the single is going to come in. The lead's going to move out. The trail is going to move out and back closer to the end line or the midline, just in case we had an over and back situation. Okay. And then now the single has everything here. The lead has all of this. And again, the trail has the ball and is looking through. Okay. So let's take just a quick look at this. I don't know how great this will show up for you, but we are looking here at what our different officials are doing. Okay. And the guy on the far right, that is our single. Okay. So we have a good view of everything. And this is, if you notice, you can really only see the single, but he's moving and watching. And there the lead is behind the goal. Okay, the single did back up a little bit to get out of the way. All right. So that's kind of good, good position. All right. Let's talk for a second before, are there any questions about all that so far? Please don't hesitate to ask questions. I can't see the chat right now. So if anybody is seeing a question in the chat, if they can throw that out, that would be great. Okay. So we're going to talk about a goal scored on the left side. Okay. So this is the left side. So on the goal, the lead is going to go in, signal goal, and get the ball. The single, and this arrow is way too short. The single is actually going to come right into the middle of the players and kind of find that crease between the offense and the defense. Come in big, show their presence, especially very early in the game. You want to catch any little yipping and yapping and talking. let them know you're going to be there the whole game. Okay. Once that happens, the lead gets the ball. The lead is going to run up and they're going to become, you'll see in a minute, the face-off official in the single side. The single is going to come up here and going to become the lead left. And the trail is going to move back to the normal face-off position that the lead right would have. And as you can see now, we've changed our initials. So the former lead is now the face-off. We call him the face-off official or the single. He's the lead left. He's the helper. And then he is the wing official. He's got both wing lines for a face-off. Okay. If we're coming back from the other direction, it's just the opposite. Okay. So the lead comes in, single comes again. These arrows are too small to me. They should be to there. All right. Comes in, grabs the ball. All right. And the only difference here is now the person who was the single now is going to come here and be the wing official. Person who's the trail is now going to come up and become the lead left. All right. And we do this on a jog, on a hop. The goal is to get everybody in a position within, 10 seconds of the goal being scored to move the players along and keep the flow of the game going. Okay. So this is what it looks like when you have a goal scored. Kid scores a goal. You see the lead come in. He's watching. Okay. And then it doesn't show the rest of it, but that's basically the kind of hop you're going to have. And then once this official signals it, gets the ball from the goalie, he's jogging, and he's going to continue that jog all the way up till he gets to the face-off. The former single is now going to just make sure there's nothing going on and then work their way to their position. All right. This is what happens on a face-off, just so you all can see. Now that you have a single, you have a lead left, and you have a trail. This is kind of what happens when the ball moves left. And with us using this person as a helper now, this person has to be very cognizant on face-offs of what's been happening in the face-offs. Right now, they actually at times want us to put that lead left right here, looking right up the pipe, right up the neutral zone. Okay. It can be difficult if a face-off guy is pushing it forward or that way to not get into play. So you have to realize what's been going on with the different face-off players and position yourself accordingly. Okay, so once we have the face-off, if the ball comes that way, okay, you've got to get on your horse and get outside the play and come back in. The single is going to go down to their spot and the trail is going to work in. Okay, so we're just going to move right into position often. So if we do this again, just let me go back one more time. Okay. Sometimes if the ball does go this way, I'm finding it can be a little better to go here and work your way out rather than the long run around outside. But you have to be very careful here and know, if the face-off midi going this way towards you is tending to push the ball out, don't be afraid to get a little bit further out and out of the way. Okay. We're not changing positions or doing anything, but we have to be careful. And the same with the single. I found this year they've wanted us to consider straddling the line so we can catch leaning and other things like that. For an old fucker like me, that's a pretty safe spot to be on a face-off. I just have to remember to stand still till I see the wing players come by me. Okay. All right. Let's look at it right here on the video. Okay. This is your lead left over here. So that one was kind of nice and easy because the play went right that way. All right. Now, ball going to the wing official. All right, this one's a little easier because the wing official is here and he's not right in the middle. It's easier for that official to get out of the way. All right, but again, the ball comes towards them. They're going to get outside immediately. Just be ready. The single's going to come down and then the trail's going to bump over a little bit. Okay. And it very infrequently what'll happen is if the lead official, whether it's on the left or right side, gets trapped, the single does have a clear path just in case we don't have the goal covered. We don't have to do it a lot, but just be cognizant of it. Okay. So that's where we're going to get for our starting position. And let's just go back real quick. Okay. So this time we're talking about the ball coming this way. So it comes that way. Boom. Much easier for our guy to get in position. All right. Any questions about that with the face-offs? And the only thing with the face-offs, so the helper is strictly that. The helper shouldn't be talking. The helper doesn't do any adjusting. It's all the single is the face-off official. The big thing that the helper is doing is watching the neutral zone. If the face-off official needs help there, and particularly watching the player in front of them for any kind of early movement or anything like that. All right. Don't be afraid to make a call there, but don't get over involved in stuff that's not your job. All right. The crease. Remember I told you kind of what our base positions would be. So here's our lead. He's just a little bit above. This should be like GLE and the single's up here. When the ball comes to the middle, the single comes in. Notice they both come in. Okay. Because we want to get tight on the crease. All right. And we see more and more and more of this kind of crease play all the time. All right. So let's watch that. All right. They both come in. I would have liked to see the single come in quicker. This isn't the greatest of videos for this. So in my mind, once the guy with the ball commits to coming in the middle, the two officials should be a little bit more on the hop to get to the goal. Okay, they're not really in great position right there. All right. Because we want to get him in. We want to get the single in to be able to watch feet and also the potential of a push. And he needs to come in a little bit closer also to help with the feet, but also to get in quickly on the goal and anything that could happen afterwards. All right. Dodging from the other side. Ball goes behind. The single drops down a little bit. The lead goes behind. Okay. And this is where the single has a little more goal responsibility just in case. You know, if this ball comes up really quick, he needs to be coming in. He needs to be coming in and covering it. All right. So I think this one shows a little bit better, a little bit more hustle towards the goal. You see both of them move in and they're in great position when the guy actually shoots. And you can watch, I believe this is the lead, right? He notices it happening and he comes jogging in and he's in great position. All right. All right. Let's talk quickly about transition. And this is one of the places I see a lot of issues. So we've just had a save. So here's our lead. Here's our signal. Here's our trail. On this save, as soon as the goalie has the ball, okay, whether it's a direct save, whether it's a loose ball that the goalie is picked up, or a turnover that's happened anywhere back here on the end line, and the ball is going to go in the opposite direction, the single immediately takes off and gets to the cone. Okay. He has no more responsibility here for counts or anything like that. Let the lead take over, trust your partner, and get over there. So we had the save. And now our trail and our lead have traded places. So to me, the first thing is the single goes. And if you watch, watch a college game, especially a higher level game, that's one of the things they want to make sure is that single's getting right to their cone. Okay. The lead should be anticipating and working their way back. Okay. The trail is here to come up with the ball. So now as the ball comes up, they come up a little bit and they stay behind it. All right. Everybody gonna kind of understand that? You want to stay as the trail behind. The singles here, he's got the line. He should know how many players are on this side of the field because we're counting forward. In case another player comes over, he's got offsides. Okay. So once the ball gets to there and gets over the line, then the single comes down into their position. Okay. And the trail comes in, counting and talking. All right. That's the basic positioning for a clear. And the thing I really look for from the singles in my crew is as soon as it's clear, the goalie's going to get the ball, even if it's still loose, he's got a clamp on it in the crease. That single should be backing out and beelining it to the cone. Well, either backpedaling or running and looking over their shoulder into the middle of the field. Okay. And making sure they don't get caught. We don't want to have two of our officials back here and all of our play right here. That defeats the purpose of having three officials. Okay. A slow break and it's already started. So we had something happen here. Okay. The defense has recovered the ball. The trail's going to blow the whistle. Single should go right to the cone, right to the midfield cone, and the lead is down here almost in the box. Ball comes up, trail comes, lead comes, and then again, as soon as the ball crosses, the single is gonna work their way down. All right, and this is kind of what that slow break should look like. The player over here is bringing it up. The trail is walking with them and you don't see anybody else because your single is up at the cone. All right. Coming. There's the single at the cone. Ball comes over. They start their walk and they come back. And the good thing here is the trail, because the single did their job, didn't get trapped on that turnover. Okay. Fast break, a little bit different. All right, that's going to be, you had a turnover right here. Everybody just runs. This is pants on fire. Lead gets right to the goal. Single goes to their spot, and trail works their way up behind the play. Boom, and we're quickly right in position, and everybody's doing their job. Okay, when the ball goes there, the single goes there, and then we come down. And now we're in our correct order. All right, so here's our fast break. Okay. It's almost as fast as I am, not quite. But everybody's got it into position. Okay, protected the guy with the cooler. He's safe. And of course, they're going to take a shitty shot. And now we're going to run back the other way. And that's the beauty of the track meet. And there's your single getting up. And once he's with play, he kind of can slow down and work his way in. All right. Anything on that? Any questions? I'm going to skip the penalty relay. We can talk. You can talk about that in your pre-games. Fights. The only difference in our fight mechanic here. So you have the trail, the lead, and the single. Okay. These two guys obviously aren't going to like each other. So we have a fight. Okay. Our first instinct, and I make the mistake, on the occasions I have fights or an altercation, is from here to come in and blow my whistle and be a strong presence. And that's wrong. Okay. Singles should come in here blowing their whistle, throwing their flags. The trail comes back here and freezes the benches. And the lead comes over and takes notes. Okay. So if you know you're in a game where there's potential for that, you want to make sure that the trail is covering and freezing the benches. Okay. And of course, like even as we always do, don't get involved in the fight. You know, if you think quickly that you can do something and you're confident enough that you can prevent it from getting bad, that's fine. Once the kids are fighting, try and push everybody back away from the players who are fighting if you can. But at that point, take notes, let the coach come on and take care of the fight. It is not anywhere in your responsibility, nor is it very intelligent to get in the middle of two kids fighting. You know, your chance of breaking them up by yourself and not getting hurt is not very good. Okay. And we're not going to look at that. So that is 3-person mechanics. Did anybody else have anything on that they wanted to share? Any questions from the presentation?
Greg, should the face-off official call possession most of the time?
No, to be honest with you, whoever sees the possession first should call possession. And then everybody should be echoing it. So, you know, if it pushes down in front of the lead right, you know, that's the person who sees the possession, they should call it. The one thing I didn't mention though is in 3-person mechanics, when you have a face-off violation or you have some kind of technical foul in the middle of the field, it's the face-off official or the single side's responsibility to restart play, and it's the 2 wing officials or the left and right officials to make sure that the boxes are frozen until we have possession. Anything else? So I'm at that moment where either I've just put everybody to sleep, they've all left, or I've done such a good job, there are no questions. And again, I'll just reiterate, you know, if you're not real strong on 3-person mechanics, go watch some, you know, go one day if you can and go to UD and just watch each individual position separately. I found, you know, again, I'll repeat it, the stuff on ESPN3, not the real professionally high quality stuff, is better to watch to see what the officials are doing because they tend to just use one camera. So you get more of a vibe of what the officials are really doing. If you're going to watch the Maryland game that starts in a few minutes, you know, you don't see a lot of what the officials do, you know, unless they're in the middle of something, you know, you just, the producers of those shows aren't trying, you know, they're not focused on the officials. So they tend to get cut out.
Hey, Greg, I was just going to say real quick, I don't think you said this. If you did, my bad. If we have a play around the crease, like Greg talked about, like someone has feet, someone has back. Hey, if any kind of push, like we should throw the flag up because it's going to get picked up anyway. But we also need to make sure we talk and make sure it's a goal or not goal and not have one person hand up and then someone say that, oh, it's not a goal, because it's hard to take that goal off the board.
Yep. That's a great point. And just to kind of rephrase a little bit from what Mike said, often, especially in today's game where we have a lot of stuff going on the crease, you know, you'll have a player end up in the crease and, you know, the team that got scored on will be complaining that they're in the crease. If you had a push and you throw the flag, even if it's after the ball's in the back of the net, that's communication. You know, that's saying we had a push. That's how he got in the crease. And assuming, you know, he was in the crease after the ball was in the net, we have a good goal. But if he was, you know, you just want to eliminate those questions and make it very, very clear. The other thing is anytime you had play around the crease, anything happening around the crease, It's a good practice for the goal official before they throw up their arms is to just look at that single and the single, they go, yep, good goal. Or if they didn't have a good goal, hopefully they're hammering on their whistle and they're coming in, flapping their wings and letting everybody know. Okay. It looks so much better when we don't get a guy like this and then have to go back and take it back, even if it's obvious. You know, we just don't look good with one guy doing this and one guy doing this, you know, and then having to have a discussion. We're better having that discussion silently, or even before you call it a goal. You know, if you're not sure, go off to the side for a second, get everybody calm down, discuss what you're going to have, and then report it. Anything else, anybody? Brett, you have anything you've seen or experienced? No? Boo?
No, you did an excellent job covering everything.
All right. JP, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else? I know Dean and Frank and Chris and Mike have a lot of three-person experience. Any words of wisdom?
Well, the one thing that you were saying, and Mike Hernandez was saying about the two-person making the call at the goal, the slowest call you make all day should be with your hands going up in the air for goal. Make it right rather than make it quick. And
Yep.
then the other thing is Kyle's on the game at Delaware this week if you want to go down Saturday.
Beautiful. All right. And well, if you want to go up to Cairn University, you can see Mr. Hernandez and I at Cairn and Keystone. That's going to be a classic. All right. And that's all I got. So with that, we will commence again on the 19th. And that's that. If you have anything.
Greg,
Oh, yeah.
if anybody is interested in golf now and can make it definite, have them email me and so I can start getting the information together.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. That sounds good. So if you're interested in golf, make sure you catch up with Mike Berlotta, and we'll have more formal as we get closer to the banquet and the end of the year. And just to finish, and I think JP can probably echo this. I think we've had the fewest critical emails reports than I've seen in a long time since we started doing it. Is that accurate, JP, or am I missing something?
You are correct, sir.
Yeah. You know, even the guys that are pissed off are saying they're happy. They just want, you know, they have questions to answer. And then the last thing is we are now, you know, you're moving into the middle of April. Things start to really step up a little bit. You know, you have teams fighting for playoff spots, fighting for conference championships. You have seniors, you know, seeing their careers end. Sometimes it may not be on the best of teams. You see, you know, more frustration, more emotion sometimes. So be ready for it and work hard to try to manage the players through that emotion so it's not affecting the game, and certainly that it doesn't end up on you. So with that, that's all I got. Everybody have a good night. Have a great week with your games. And take care of yourselves.